Well, thousands of school leavers across the state now have a better idea of their future path in terms of tertiary studies with the release of the second round of QTAC offers on Thursday just gone. And of course, for those offered places in their first choice of degree and university, there was much cause for celebration. But what about those who are yet to receive the treasured envelope in the mail? What options are on the table for them? Let's find out a little bit more. Chris Jack is Head of Customer Experience and QTAC. He joins me now. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, David. Thanks for having me.
Chris, thanks very much for your time. First things first, so the first round of offers went out in December, and now the second round went out late last week. But I noticed that the newspaper was calling this second round of offers the predominant round. So can you explain to me a bit of how this whole round of offers system works?
Yeah, absolutely. So each year, QTAC opens for applications in August. Offer rounds are essentially a scheduled date when students can receive a notification from QTAC if they've been successful in securing a place in one of the courses listed in their QTAC application. The offer rounds where most offers are allocated occur in December and January each year.
And are there others sort of aspects of it that make it a little bit hard to predict? I mean, because they're not every course, I believe, will offer or make offers in these designated rounds. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So traditionally there have been a limited number of offer rounds, mostly in December and January. However, in more recent times, the last 4 years or so, the number of scheduled offer rounds have increased to approximately 35 individual rounds throughout the year. We recognise that running offer rounds regularly throughout the year gives applicants more flexibility and choice in planning their futures.
But then within those rounds, what factors decide which courses and degrees offer places in which round?
Yeah, so it's largely decided by the institutions themselves. However, supply and demand is a simple way to explain how offer rounds are run. So allocation of places are determined based on the outcomes of a selection process. Aspects like student interest, calibre of applicants can influence the competitiveness of a given course. QTAC allows applicants to select up to 6 preferences, which provides a greater opportunity to hopefully receive an offer in one of their preferred courses.
But is the calibre of what's being offered and what students are receiving in terms of their preferences, is it sort of going down with every round? I mean, for students who haven't received an offer yet in the first or second round, is there still hope for them to get a place in the course that they want in subsequent rounds throughout the year?
Yeah, absolutely. So while December and January offer rounds are our biggest in terms of offers, they're certainly not the last opportunity to receive an offer. Offer rounds continue through January and February, and semester 2 is a great option as well. You mentioned the calibre increasing throughout the offer rounds. Again, it really comes down to supply and demand. So if a course is really popular this year, it may be more competitive. However, there's always options available as offer rounds continue. And if applicants are unsure of the next steps, they should reach out to QTAC to discuss their eligibility if they haven't done so already.
So I was going to ask, and you've sort of answered it there. I mean, is there anything that students in that situation, they haven't received their offer in the first or second round, is there anything they should be doing now, or is it just a waiting game pretty much?
Yeah, so applicants need to make sure that they've supplied all required documentation to QTAC. That's a big one. And maximise their chances by utilising all 6 of their preferences. Again, if they're in doubt, reach out to us rather than just waiting to see.
So it's not too late, even at this stage, to alter things to get a better chance of having some sort of success?
Absolutely not. So applicants can log into their online portal at any time and make the changes that they need to their application to ensure that they're considered for the offer rounds that are coming up, the next of which is on the 20th.
Having said that, though, should they also be thinking that, potentially hope could come in the next rounds, or the rounds still to come this year, but also should they be thinking that perhaps a plan B is in order. Like if they're starting to assume that maybe their ATAR score wasn't good enough to get them into the course that they wanted, should they start looking at what other options there might be to rectify that?
Yeah, there's plenty of options available, and obviously depending on the individual circumstances, they could consider, vocational education and training, or upgrading through less competitive tertiary study. So even 1 year of study can help boost their prospects of getting into their desired course in the following year. So plenty to think about in that respect. And again, QTAC can help with those with that information.
Do you think in that case too, a lot of students limit their chances by becoming too fixated on just one particular university? You know, it's got to be UQ or it's got to be QUT or, it can't be a regional university. In some way they are inferior. I mean, not true, but do you think a lot of students have that sort of false idea?
Not particularly. We often see students selecting the same course at multiple institutions to maximise their chances of receiving offers. If a student, of course, does have their heart set on a particular institution, they can utilise their six preferences to give them options and still be able to study at the preferred provider. But there are lots of institutions across this great state, and the regional institutions are fantastic options and are definitely not a lesser option in any way, shape or form. And we certainly work really closely with those regional institutions to ensure that people realise that fact.
Okay. If you've just come in, by the way, David Iliffe with you on ABC Southern Queensland. Having a chat to Chris Jack this morning. Chris is Head of Customer Experience at QTAC, and we're talking about other options with the QTAC round of offers, the second round of offers in terms of university and post-high school training and education institutions coming out just late last week, and plenty more rounds still to come. Chris, is another option, and you sort of touched on it there, but even studying at TAFE as a way of increasing your chances of getting into your chosen course next year?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, there are so many opportunities available in the great state of Queensland. And the best thing to do is for applicants to contact QTAC and get some tailored advice on a pathway that suits their goals and ambitions. Making the decision to start further education is fantastic, and it really is the first step into the future. But if they need any assistance along the way, we're here to help.
All right. And just lastly, and again, this would be clarified if people get in touch with QTAC, but I was fascinated because I think talking to someone from QTAC last week in preparing for this interview, the subject of gaining entry to university as a mature age student came up. And I certainly had this view, and I'm sure a lot of people do, that you can't really qualify for university entry as a mature age student until you are more mature, shall we say. I would have thought at least over 25 or over 30 or something. But the definition of a mature age student is very, very abstract, isn't it, really, depending on the institution? Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, it does depend on the individual institution, but anyone that's recently finished school all the way through to school is just a distant memory can certainly look at alternative entry methods to gain entry into a course at a university, and that's universities all across Queensland. So the best thing to do if you're thinking about study or you've made that decision that you really want to start to get into study in the next year or so, give us a call and we can talk through those options. But it's definitely not too late for anyone, and it's definitely not too early for anyone either. If you're just out of school, or if you can't even remember school, give us a call and we'll help you through that journey.
Chris Jack, great to chat to you.